Host DJ Rochelle, and this is Live Fridays. As usual, we have a fantastic band in the studio ready to perform for you live. But before we get going on, I'm not going to take care of a little bit of business here, tell you about some cool stuff going on and other disclaimers and whatnot. So, starting off, the views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily represent KPSU, Portland State University, or any of our participating affiliates. Listener discretion is advised. And KPSU has been broadcasting since 1994 on the Portland State campus, and we're streaming to you worldwide 24/7 at www.kpsu.org. And I'm going to, like I said, take care of a little bit of business, tell you about some cool stuff, and then you will be hearing the Kearns family here live in the studio very shortly. Stay tuned for that. KPSU.org. And I'm going to, like I said, take care of a little bit of business.
Became his cook and even his nurse. But no matter what roles I play, I know I'm still his daughter.
We understand the roles you play. So to help, we created aarp.org/caregiving, where you can connect with experts and other caregivers. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
El impacto de una comida va mucho más allá de alimentar nuestro cuerpo, porque sentirse lleno puede sonar así.
¡Lo logré! ¡Me dieron el trabajo! ¡No lo puedo creer!
Y así.
¡Mamá! ¡Gané el primer lugar en la Feria de Ciencias con mi proyecto del volcán!
¡Qué bueno, mi amor! ¡Felicidades!
Porque cuando las personas se alimentan, sus futuros se nutren. Y todos merecen una vida plenamente llena. Únete al movimiento para acabar con el hambre en feedingamerica.org/haz tu parte. Un mensaje de Feeding America y el Ad Council.
You're listening to KPSU, Portland's College Radio.
Sky keeps staring at me.
Hey, this is Guidance Counselor, and you're listening to KPSU.
And now ready to perform for you live here in the KPSU studios on Live Fridays. Here is the Kearns family.
Love will win in the end. Time after time after time again. It's so lonesome at 2 a.m. Love will win in the end. Time after time and one more time again, you say you're in love, not with me, with him. I thought we were in love, but I was mistaken. And then you rode off in a red convertible Mustang and left me crying. I watched you ride off into the red sunset, and then I sang, you best believe that love will win. You best believe that love will win. lonesome as you walk on in. Love will win in the end. Time after time and one more time again, I too am lonesome. Won't you come on in? You best believe that love will win. And then we rode off in a red convertible Mustang. You were driving. And then we rode off into the red sunset, and I sang, you best believe that love will win. You best believe that love will win. You best believe that love will win. You best believe that love will win.
Time after time, after time again. Time after time, after time again. Time after time, after time again. Time after time, after time again.
Way to get things going.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome. Sorry, do you want to lay
nice
that
to
down,
be
or are you good? Okay. You look like you're getting quite the arm workout with it.
Yeah, she does get quite the workout with that thing. I mean, just carrying it around, let alone playing it.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening, there is video up on the youtube.com/PSUTV. That is the Sub Basement Studios video stream. And then you can see the giant upright bass we were just talking about, Susan getting the arm workout on.
That's the small one of the two, isn't it? No, they're kind of the same size. Yeah.
Big. Okay. So before we get too far in, should introduce yourselves and what you're playing here today.
My name is Pat Kearns, and I'm playing acoustic guitar and singing.
And I'm Susan Kearns, and I play the upright bass.
Awesome. And thank you again for being here. I'm really excited to have you.
This is really nice being here.
Thank you.
This was fun. So the Kearns family, as you were known, now I know, Pat, you and I have chatted and had you on the show before because you've been in a few bands and done some solo acoustic stuff as well. It is new to have you, Susan, as part of this and as part of the band. You want to tell me a little bit about how he talked you into joining him?
Well, Pat was a solo act. After Blue Skies, he went solo. And he had a couple solo records put out, and I always played bass on them, session bass, and was always part of Pat Kearns, was what he was going by for these solo records, just his name. And it just kind of evolved into, it was getting more and more stripped down, less and less backing musicians, until finally it just became easier for it just to be the two of us.
Yeah, that's
long story short.
Yeah, really boiled down.
Do you want to elaborate on that, Pat?
No, we had other members. It was hard to keep a rhythm section. We were trying to do really quiet music where like the lyrics and stuff are forward. Like that's what you're supposed to be listening to. And down in the desert, we had a drummer and a guitar player that we played with, and it was just really hard all the time getting them to quiet down and not boogie.
And it was hard to play out of town gigs and to rally everybody together to, like, for instance, like we wouldn't be here in Portland if we had the band.
Yeah,
it would just be difficult.
That was what we were doing down in the desert with like kind of this country band, folk band, And then we would go out on the road, and we couldn't afford to take them.
Not only could we
on
not afford,
the
but
road.
gathering everybody's schedules because they're all in
Yeah.
other bands too, and
Yeah.
It became more of this, and then
we realized that it was really fun just to go,
Yeah.
just to go with us because we could like stay where we want to stay, and it was kind of a vacation, and
Haven't-
we don't really take traditional vacations. This is it. Like
Yeah.
this is what we do.
This is your vacation.
This
Yeah,
is,
when,
it is.
when the band is on tour and we have a couple days off, it's like, I mean, it's really funny. My buddy's band is on tour at the exact same time we are. The Exploding Hearts. We keep reconvening with them. And they're having the same kind of days off that we're having. And I watch him. He's stressing out with having to keep these guys like
Right.
paid and active and the whole thing. And Susan and I just go, oh, it's a couple days off. You want to go camping in the redwoods? Yeah, sounds cool. And that's what we did the last couple days. So it was really great.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, that is nice. And it's nice that, you know.
It's a wine tasting. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that does sound like a nice vacation.
That's right.
Dogs with us. It's awesome. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and I can imagine, when you're trying to coordinate with a band, there's always, just even as adults trying to find time to meet up, even to have coffee with friends sometimes is a challenge.
Yeah, I work in the studio for a living, so days of the week, the way my life works, there's no regular set schedule. And so just being involved in my life in that way, like it's tumultuous to you and that kind of thing. So it's nice this is easier. Susan has to roll with whatever I'm doing anyway, because we're married.
And apparently you like staying married, so
Yeah.
We like each other a little bit. Yeah. It's like,
roll with it.
fun.
So when you decided, okay, this is going to be it, we're not going to try and coordinate with other people anymore. It's going to be us playing. How did you decide on the name of the band? How did this become a thing?
We let Pat answer that.
Yeah, we just wanted something to really reflect what we were doing, and it to be like, I look at, like, it's original music. We write our own songs, that kind of thing. But I look at it as it's very much in the old folk and country tradition of bands and that kind of thing. And there are more modern versions of that out there, like groups like the Handsome Family, and that really is their last name. But we were really thinking, and I think the Handsome Family was thinking the exact same thing when they named their band. We were all thinking back to the Carter family. And it's like, as far as the kind of music that we're trying to do, and this whole idea of, like, the Carter family, they did, I guess, set out to be professionals, but it all just started on the porch at their house, like, at the end of the day. And our thing was we enjoy playing music. I always have some songs around, and so after a day of working at our jobs, we both work from home or whatever, sort of, but it's crazy jobs. She cuts hair and that kind of thing, and I have a recording studio, and I do a lot of production work for, like, really simple, like, besides music and all that kind of stuff, but cartoons and stuff, just job stuff. And at the end of the day, we play music. We just go back down to
And
the
also,
studio.
we wanted to keep the name Kearns tied to it because of Pat's, like, past and, like, so much material that he had out under Pat Kearns. So, like, we toyed with the name Pat Kearns Duo for half a second.
Yeah, we played some gigs under that. Yeah, it was
And it
stupid.
just
I
didn't
couldn't
stick,
stand the
and we
name.
didn't like it, and yeah, we
but
just didn't know what to. And then it just came one day, just came to us.
Yeah, and I like it. Most people, it's funny. Most people don't pick up on the. I don't know. At least, I mean, yeah. Most people don't pick up on the tradition of it, that it's the Carter family.
Right.
But, hey.
Yeah, and it's something that I know has carried even from the Carter family into other iterations, like you mentioned, the Hanson family, as well as, even the Partridge family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Like that. That was exactly what we were at.
Right. And it did make me think, as you're talking about just sitting on the porch playing, that I know one of my early memories as an adult, I say adult as, young adult, barely old enough to buy a beer. I would go to, like, a convenience store, and there'd be friends who rented out a house, as people did. You'd have like 10 roommates in one house, and they'd all be hanging out on the front porch playing. And that would be not just one place. You would, walk through the neighborhood of multiple neighborhoods here in Portland. That would be a common sight. someone just chilling on the porch playing. Someone comes by and you see them join them, that they've got a hand drum or another
love
guitar. That sort of thing just was commonplace. Not that it doesn't still happen, but it's not as often, I think. Just housing costs, frankly.
Yeah, housing costs have pushed the musicians and artists out of the center of Portland.
Right,
mean,
but I like to think that that's still kind of a common vibe, though, that people want, that people do have, where they'll just sit on a front porch and play, and someone happens by that also is a musician will be like, yeah, come hang out and play with us.
I think a lot of things happen. I think that's where, like, when you get these concentrations of artists and musicians, and then people can sort of link up that maybe aren't supposed to have a band together, like would commonly, find each other in the musician ads, whatever, like, a bluegrass and a jazz guy, for instance, get together or something. All the magic happens there, and the cool music happens there. So.
For sure. And I think that's also why I love the backstage of, local festivals. Like you mentioned Pickathon, there's also others like the PDX Pop Fest, where you get a mix of genres, and people in the green room hanging out will suddenly start jamming together, because that's just how musicians are.
Yeah. And it's just, musicians are funny so much. Music's great, but a lot of it is just about the hang. So you get some people that are just really different from each other, but they enjoy each other's company. Something cool is going to happen.
Yeah, it is fun to see sort of those cross sections where you're like, wait, you play more folk country and yet you're wanting to hang out with the rapper. Okay.
Yeah.
But it happens.
The punk rockers seem to love us. I don't know.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I think they just see the old punks in us. So.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So before I get too off, because I know you and I could hang out and tell stories all day. A lot as a side note, 'cause you mentioned punk rock. I did go to the Punk Rock Museum while I was in Vegas recently, which I didn't even know was a thing until one of my coworkers mentioned it.
I just recently heard about it.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny because there was a few things they had up in the museum that I was like, wait, I was at that show. And like, I could almost see myself in the audience on some of them. And to be like, wait a minute.
Wow.
Kind of start to date yourself at that point to realize you're part of a museum piece. But I'm curious if there's anything you feel like you kind of want to preserve, that, not to say that you'll end up in the punk rock museum, but you never know. There's stuff that may end up somewhere.
I think, it's just really important to us to preserve the tradition of songs and storytelling. That's what I struggled after Blue Skies at trying to figure out why I even wanted to do this thing. I really love playing music, but it also made me really miserable in that period of time. It was just hard. And it's sort of, for me, it's doing it is making a connection with people. And this type of songs we started to do through all this was what they were built on, and that's very they became very story oriented, or detail oriented in that way, at least.
That's really cool. Do you still have lots of notebooks of lyrics?
Yeah. No, I just roll through them. I don't treat them very sacredly, like they get beat up or whatever. Susan buys me really nice notebooks.
They're good gifts.
Which is cool.
Easy present to get.
I get big books of blank pages, and I just sort of work through them, because you can't save or be pristine about a songwriting notebook like that, because writing songs is messy. It doesn't really work out clean. At one time I was like, oh, this is a nice notebook, I'm only going to put finished things in there. And then the notebook just didn't get used. And then one day I was out of notebooks, actually, at our compound. I started to pull the nice ones off.
I think that's the interesting thing, though, when you look at somebody's notebook or sketchbook and you see all that.
It's a mess.
The creative process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It is a creative process, and if you're wanting just to have the polished, finished product, you're not seeing the process then.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so before I spend too much time interviewing, I want to hear more of your music. What are you going to play next?
We'll play you a song that we live down in an area where there's a minor gold rush in California in the late 1800s. Started by a fellow, the first white settler in our area. Everybody else was Native American. And this guy's name was Charlie Ricci, and he built a gold mine up on the mountain behind us, Goat Mountain. And so we just kind of got interested in gold mining. I was looking a bunch of things up and trying to, as I wrote this song came to me in a fever dream, actually, while I had COVID. But then I had to flesh out all the details, so I started reading up a lot about gold mining and all the stuff to go with it. And I also came across this guy. He wasn't a gold miner, but he was in gold country, further north than we are, but during the same period of time. And his name was Black Bart. And what I thought was really cool about Black Bart is he was a robber or whatever, but he would find these stagecoaches and rob them. And then when he robbed them, he would leave the person that he robbed a poem. And I was like, that's great. So I borrowed a couple lines from Black Bart, like we had to shift them around.
Yeah.
But they're within this thing, or at least the flavor of them. And this is called You've Got No Claim to the Mine.
And I do like the play on words you put there of, you've got no claim on me with the, that you put in there is sort of the play on the claim to the mine as well as the claim to a person.
Yeah, that's definitely was part of the inspiration. Somebody was making a claim on me, and then I also got sick, and I think the fever dream was the reaction of that.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's
Here
hear
we
it.
go.
Thanks.
1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. I dug my holes, I panned for gold, stated my claim, then stated my home. I placed my cairns 3 feet high and filed my claim on day 45. The wealthy man gets a hold, their grubby hands on some of the gold. Let come what will, I'll try it on to hit pay dirt. You don't get a second chance to make an ascension, a fortune, a climb. Yeah, I struck gold, but you got no claim to the mine. You watched me toil the hill above, tricked me and fooled me of brotherly love. I've labored long and hard for bread, so on my pride you will not tread. Your desperate plea, gold fever dream, it's gonna end with your head in the stream. You shook me down and hung me out, but never from me you'll get a second chance to make an ascension, a fortune, a climb. Yeah, I struck gold, but you got no claim to the mine. Right here. You play another one? Cool.
What do you want to play?
Let's play The Dust.
All right.
We live in a little homestead cabin out in the desert. And it's from, I think it was built in 1954, supposedly. It's not exactly real tight. And the other thing about living in the desert, besides the sun, the big factor in the weather is the wind. And there's a lot of sand and dust around. And when the wind blows, there's a lot of dust. And what I figured out after living there a while, you're also there alone a lot of the time and by yourself, or yourselves in our case. And we noticed that kind of like the cleanliness of the cabin, the amount of dust on the surfaces and in the corners and around inside, it directly correlated with the state of our mental health. I guess you'd say inversely correlated. So the healthier and better off we were, the cleaner the house was. And when things started to slip, there was dust. 1, 2, 3. When I was younger, my mind was sharp. The paint wasn't peeling, and I had a loving heart. Now the dust keeps creeping in the corners, and I keep sweeping it in the pan. Mistakes were made and doors left open on a windy day when the dust was blowing. Now the dust keeps creeping in the corners, and I keep sweeping it in the pan. Whoa, 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 ha, ha, ha. As I grew older, I settled. Glass cracked and shattered, and doors were gapped. Then the dust keeps creeping in the corners, and I keep losing it in my mind. Whoa, 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 ha, ha, ha. Whoa, 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 ha, ha, ha. The dust keeps creeping in. The dust keeps creeping in. And I keep sweeping in. The dust keeps creeping in.
I love that you paired those two together too, because those are some of the more interesting songs to me as far as the songwriting and lyrics. That you have some fun sort of play on words going on there.
Yeah, The Dust was our first single that we released on this record called
Yep.
Together and Alone.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that songwriting process and how you feel it's different now, you know, just in this iteration of a band.
It takes a lot longer now. The songs have a lot more details and things. It just takes. I don't necessarily know what they're about when I start them, so it's like trying to. It's kind of like looking out, and I mean it's the desert or whatever, but it's sort of like looking out on a foggy landscape, and then things start to become apparent, like the fog lifts. And then once you discover what it is about and you kind of have it, you can finish it then. And it's like easy to find the parts. But it takes a while. Like I spend a lot of time just kind of staring out the window or looking at the wall while it goes on to wait for it to kind of come out.
Yeah. How do you know when you kind of know what it's about then? Like when does it, is there something that sort of occurs to you, like a certain thing that stands out where you're like, okay, I know what this song is about now?
It's different for every song. And sometimes, I mean, I'm sure there's stuff like I write and I don't know what it is. I mean, yeah, there's stuff on this album that's like that, but you're looking for kind of a certain arc to the story, a thing. I don't know exactly like what a song like Bandito is like, but it makes sense. It has a whole. It's circular, that song.
Right. You've got, again, it's that storytelling aspect that you were talking about earlier, where it definitely has, you know, like you would say with Carter Family, or even more modern songs by like Dolly Parton, where there's an obvious beginning, middle, arc, ending, and sometimes even looped back again. There's whole characters fleshed out.
Yeah.
Where you don't necessarily have characters fleshed out in other songs. Like pop music today is more about feeling or a vibe than it is an actual storyline or a person that's named in it.
Yeah, I think that's very intentional with especially the group of songs on our album Together and Alone, to have to be a complete description of something. Some of them are just a moment. But it's it's easy to be there within that. A picture is painted for you.
Right.
You know.
When I mentioned characters, like one of the songs you haven't played yet, but I know is on the album, about Charlie. Who is Charlie?
I don't know. This is like one of those ones that are like what I just described. I just had this notebook. And Charlie was a very intentional song in a lot of ways. I have this notebook that I was telling you about, and I just, sometimes in the notebook, I just write things down that occur to me or funny observations. And there were two phrases in the notebook on different pages in the notebook that I just kind of wrote under those circumstances. One, I knew what it was, and one I didn't. The one that's, you have to be smart to hang with Charlie, because Charlie always does the thinking. That was written in my notebook. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what that was, but that's where Charlie started to become a person. And then I was.
We didn't know any Charlies either.
Yeah, we didn't know any
Really,
Charlies at the time. I've met a few since. And then the second thing that was in it that also painted a picture of Charlie was me making fun of myself I felt like a loser one day because I was broke, and I looked out at our Jeep parked out in front of the studio, and I was like, oh man, I was like, the tags are expired. I was like, I didn't even know, like, the tags were, we never got, I was like, I can't believe this. Like, we owe the tags. It's really expensive in California. I don't have the money for the tags. And I was like, and on top of that, I need an oil change. Like, God, I was just like, what a loser. And so I wrote that down in my book. And then one day she was like working, and I had a few hours. I was like, I'm going to go down to the studio and write a song. And I just started flipping through the book, and there were these phrases, and I started playing some chords, and I'll play you Charlie now. This is what came out.
How do you know what to add to these after he starts?
Yeah,
Because you have your parts that you're adding, Susan.
Oh, this was hard on Charlie too.
This was a little
she
hard.
She had a part in her head, and then we couldn't, like, I don't know what it is in her head or whatever, but she couldn't, like, execute it right away either. And so I made Susan a recording of it, because after a long time of writing the chords down, she still was like, I don't like it, I can't do it yet or whatever. I was like, here's a recording, go for it. And she spent a bunch of time with it, and then we came back together, and it wasn't like boom, it came together. It was like, then it was like the part was there, and then we practice them a lot.
Yeah,
you know.
but that's not typical. Usually Pat will come up with a song melody, and we just start playing it, and it just kind of evolves into something, and then I just refine the bass line into.
So it's almost more like a jam session where you kind of figure out, okay, this is where this goes.
Yeah.
And like you said, refine it, whereas others, like you mentioned, Charlie, were like, this doesn't really seem to fit. We need to figure something else out here.
I kind of start out real simple and then elaborate on that a little bit more, and then it just kind of keeps evolving.
It's not as much like a jam session as like, we'll have a part and we'll just go over the part over and over and over again until like a certain group of chords.
Something sticks.
Until things
like try
start,
some things and then something sticks.
This one, she had it in her head and she had to dig it out. And that took a while. Because like that's hard when you like.
And I've heard that from other musicians where they have a hard time where they've kind of fallen in love with a certain sound that they have in their head, but then when they go to record or perform it, it doesn't work. Yeah. And they have to, kill their darling, so to speak.
Well, we didn't kill it. We went and found it, but it just like it wasn't.
No, I mean like
immediate.
To kill the darling being the thing that you had stuck in your head. You have to kill and go, all right, we got to figure something else.
She didn't have to kill that. I think she went and found it. It just did. It took a while. Like
it just took a while to dig it out.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I think a lot of musicians do fall into that, but they have a lot more of a palette than we do. They have all these pedals and different guitars, and we have relocated ourselves on purpose to simplicity. Of we don't have any pedals on the ground. We just have 2 acoustic instruments and a couple voices, and I do have a harmonica rack and harmonicas that I play, but we just like. We tried to boil everything down to just the notes and the music and the thing, and not get caught up in the textures of. And going back to
like the other musicians playing this, and it's nice because like what you hear on the album is exactly what you're going to hear when you come and see us.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. And that sometimes does happen differently that way, and it can be rather jarring. You're like, that's not at all what I was expecting because it's not what's on the album.
We were having that problem a lot, and especially like because we didn't show up with a drummer, and they're like, well, we want to dance. I'm like, oh, sorry. So that was one of our conscious things, and it was during pandemic. We were riding around listening to early Bob Dylan records in that Jeep, and I just like, there's no drummer. And it was like, this sounds like so immediate and cool, and you're just, the imagery is what is entertaining. And like this whole world just starts to exist inside your mind with his songs. And we were really interested in trying to do that,
Right. It almost becomes like, not necessarily a soundtrack, but something that kind of akin to a soundtrack where you can visualize the movie that goes with the song.
Yeah. I think you could make movies from many of our songs. I'm not interested in doing it, but maybe somebody will. So.
All right.
Because
Well,
some of them have a whole story. This one has a whole story.
Right.
If you listen close, I think something bad happens to Charlie in the end.
I mean, you did mention that with the rain. All right,
Here
let's
we
hear
go.
Charlie.
You can't be smart to hang with Charlie, 'cause Charlie always does the thinking. His new used car needs an oil change. Tags expired 2 years ago today. You can't be straight to hang with Charlie, 'cause Charlie's always high and drinking. He's a good friend, he's always pouring. Even when it rains up in heaven. Yes, it even rains up in heaven. Pretty sunsets pair with cloudy skies. About the last time I seen Charlie, Charlie never said goodbye. I was once at the beach with Charlie, and Charlie buried himself in the sand. That's the last time I seen Charlie. The very last drink poured from his hand. Yes, it even rains up in heaven. Pretty sunsets pair with cloudy skies. About the last time I seen Charlie, Charlie never said goodbye. Nice bass playing, Susan.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So Susan, I want to ask you a little bit about your background with music. This obviously is not a new thing to you, but it is a new project.
It is, yeah. Going way back, I mean, I took guitar lessons when I was a child, like teenager. And then I didn't really pick up bass until I was in my early 30s, where I played with my ex at the time in a band. I was in Philadelphia at the time. And it was called Electro Spur, and it was like this 3-piece Americana-ish punky thing. And then what chamber pop came around, and we started getting into that. And then I bought an upright, and I started teaching myself. And then put it down for a while and forever, and just kind of forgot about it. And then moved to Portland. Long story short, yada yada yada. I met Pat.
Greg Odell.
And
Greg Odell talked you into picking.
Yeah, he was just starting his solo thing post Blue Skies.
I was.
Pat was, and yeah, we were playing. He was playing with this drummer Greg Odell, and he's like, you need an upright bass player, and he's like, how about Susan? Like, doesn't she play? And Pat's like, I don't know, no.
Greg's just like, we'll practice a lot. And we're like,
and
okay.
then, yeah, and then Pat warmed up to the idea, and we started practicing, and like it really clicked. It was really good.
It was really fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Now, do you play other instruments, or is guitar kind of?
I play electric bass still.
Yeah.
She's been taking guitar lessons again online.
Yeah,
and
I've been taking some online guitar lessons too, just tinkering. But
you play bass in a whole bunch of bands and a whole bunch of different styles.
Yeah, I'm in a band called Yvonne Champagne, and I'm also a visual artist. And these are two gals that I met through the art scene in the desert, and it's 2 bass players and a drummer. So it's kind of like an art rock experimental band. Mm-hmm. And then I play in another jazz punk improv band called Lost Hiker.
I like that. And your album cover and album art, actually the inside cover, in fact, I'm going to take a step back and steal this off here so I can share for the cameras. Open up so people can see this texture on here that you actually painted.
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, that's a painting that I did. I'm pretty active in the art scene in the desert, and I probably do about a dozen paintings a year and show them in the desert.
At least a dozen.
At least, yeah.
Between a dozen and 20.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Of course, now that I pick it up, it doesn't want to stay. There we go. Okay. But I like that, it's not necessarily a realistic portrait of the desert, but you do have that feeling. You've got the textures and the colors and things that evoke
the
desert
kind of like
environment.
an expressionist landscape.
Right, which works perfectly for that inside sleeve where you put the lyrics on it.
Yeah. I do a lot of paintings based on Pat's music, actually. I've done a series of paintings based on, what was it, Down in the Wash?
Yeah, my album Down in the Wash, she did a series of paintings for. And then there was another. It was, I think it's this album. Did you do a bunch of paintings for, too? Yeah, because there was Love Will Win in the End that our friend bought. And, we forget about
I forget,
this.
I know.
Yeah.
Got a whole series.
But yeah, it's great subject matter because his songs are so narrative, and like I do a lot of abstract painting, but they're based on subject matter. It's like expressionist. Mm-hmm. So like I could just sit down and listen to the song and then just like see what comes up and like, imagery.
That's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Which it's nice because I know sometimes talking about music can be awkward where it's hard to necessarily put into the words the feelings that it evokes. And that's where, art, you can look at that and go, that's the feeling.
Yeah, it's all connected, it's all connected.
Right. Okay, so going back again, you've got your wonderful visual art as well as you as a bassist. What other stuff do you have going on? I'm sure you do at this point now. I'm starting to hear more. I hear about you more. I'm like, okay, what else does she do?
Well, I'm a hairstylist too, but that's, pays the bills. So, and I do love it.
Yeah.
I do love it.
Yeah, you do love it. She's tried to quit. And
I always try to quit. I'm always quitting.
Go. And then going back to the album cover, the photography that you have on the outside, how did that come about?
Our friend, have you heard of the artist out here in Portland, Joshua Josue? He's an old friend of mine.
I was gonna say that name sounds familiar, but I can't picture.
Yeah, he's a Chicano rock and roll artist up here. He's putting out his first debut album as Joshua Josue. It comes out I want to say in like next month, August, but very soon. And he's been a buddy. I've known him since 1997. Worked with a whole bunch of projects, different projects that he's had over the years. And he became, over the years, too, a really great photographer and a trusted friend. And we wanted to do this, like, we had all this collection of dark songs, and we wanted to shoot in our homestead cabin. So we talked him to coming from Portland down to the desert and shooting us. And he does a beautiful job. I think we're high maintenance. He does a really nice job. So. Yeah.
I kind of crush that, just knowing part of, like you mentioned, you don't have guitar pedals or other things. I know that comes from your experience as a sound engineer. It's like, okay, the less is better. It sounds cleaner and easier.
Yeah.
How much, as far as you're getting the photo done, I start to wonder that, okay, you probably in your own head know what that's like as an artist to try and shoot.
No, because I'm terrible, like, with visuals and things like that. I'm
Well,
really
another thing I could add
lacking.
with the photos, we kind of came to an agreement that we weren't going to use AI or any of, technology. They reflect our music. It's kind of just what you see is what you get.
Yeah, I mean, things are polished up and stuff like that, and there was a lot of discussion that went into that particular shoot of, like, the vibe that we wanted to have, and it's hard to explain. We wanted the picture to have atmosphere. And I don't want to tell people, like, what I can tell you a little bit or whatnot, because it won't make any sense to anybody.
No, but I get what you were
but-
saying earlier about it being somewhat stylized, even though it's a realistic portrait.
Yeah,
There's a
well,
little bit of styling, and I
I
would say
think-
it's similar to what we see on social media, not like the AI aspect, but I mean as far as the way people use angles in certain lighting.
Yeah, well,
Certain lighting
we
was
used
important
a
to
bunch
us.
of classical painters as our examples to send him instead of other people's pictures. And so I remember we sent him, I think you sent him some Magritte.
Goya, we were like,
But Goya was the big one, which won't
Right.
make any, if you know Goya, it won't make any sense to anybody because it's very
Well, I could see
disturbing.
when you mentioned lighting in Goya, it makes sense though, because it
That
is
makes
very
sense.
dark and
Yeah.
there's
So that was
not a
what-
lot of light
that was what
in
we
those
wanted to gather from it. We were sending him stuff. We were like, don't dress us up like, I remember Saturn eats his son. I said it. I was like, yeah, like, it's not the subject matter. It's more like the feeling.
Just the
of it
vibe, yeah.
And the vibe and the colors. And if you know that, I suppose you could look at the cover of our album and be like, oh, yeah, I see that, And Magritte, who we talked about, I think both those things, we didn't spend as much time on that as talking about, or thinking about Goya, but we were thinking about a lot of that, and it didn't really make any sense, but it was, basically what it was, the artwork, too, was an afterthought. And we had this collection of songs, and we started to go through the songs and the stories within the songs, and we realized, like, kind of how messed up the album was in a way of, like, these characters were all pretty compromised people, and there was, without intentionally doing it, there was a lot of death or implied death through the album. And so that was where I think this art was informed through that.
I could see that somewhat in my head, and this is just my perspective. Art, of course, is all subjective, but it made me think of like old Western movies where it's definite white hat, black hat characters sometimes, but then when you go to the more modern Westerns, there's less white hat, black hat. It's more muddied as far as, there's greater character development, and you have a better idea of, okay, this was a person who just somehow went down this path, and you could see how they changed a bit. So it felt a bit more modern Western in that vibe, and I can see other songs where it's more old Western.
Well, I think,
So-
I think we watch a lot of Westerns because we like that. We're attracted to that imagery and that kind of thing, and so I think that informed the songs. But the ones I think that really we spend most time or had the most influence were the ones that were on the cusp of what you said between old and the older ones and the modern ones. We really, really like the Dollar Trilogy and spend a lot of times like that. And it's really like the bad guys are kind of good and the good guys are kind of bad in those movies. And then there's clowns and things like that too, which is really cool.
It's fun. Now, before we run out of time here, because I know we've got a few minutes left, want people to know where they can find your album and where they can hear about upcoming gigs.
You have to find us on Instagram under the Kearns family, and it's spelled Kearns. And you can find our albums and order like physical copies of stuff. Mainly, you either have to come see us in person at a show, or you got to do it through Bandcamp. We have all our stuff you can order on Bandcamp. But we have an LP out, vinyl LP, gatefold LP that we were talking about with the lyrics and everything, and then a CD of the same album, and some things like that. And there's something else I was going to tell you.
Where can people find out about upcoming gigs?
Gigs, yes. You find out about that basically on our Instagram, and we're just constantly announcing them and that kind of thing. In this area, our only gig left in this area in the state of Oregon is next Wednesday out at the Grand Lodge in Forest Grove. And we are there with Brooklyn Dell and the Revelators. And it's a free show. It starts at 7 p.m. I've been told it gets crowded, so don't wait. Get there. It's supposed to be a good time. I'm excited to be there.
Yeah, and since it's at the Grand Lodge, is that an all-ages show then?
I heard it was all ages as well.
It's a McManimum, so I believe that is an all-age show.
Yeah, I don't really know what the scoop is. Our friends put it together who are in Brooklyn Dell and the Revelators, some of the Revelators, and they always take care of us, and they just assured, they were like, this is going to be awesome, here you go. So we're going to be there.
It'll be a good time.
Wednesday, July 30th, yes.
There you go. Okay, so end of the month, Grand Lodge, and for more they can go to the Kearns family on Instagram.
Yeah. And then we'll be back around. I think as we've been coming up the West Coast here, people are offering us gigs to come back. And so we have some work to do, but I think it's very likely we're going to be back in Portland in November.
Nice. And then as far as the physical copies, you mentioned they'll be at the McMiniman show.
Yep.
They can be ordered on Bandcamp.
Yep.
Will they be in any record stores, like a Music Millennium or something like that?
If I get around to getting them over to Music Millennium, we can get there. I'm a little busy. I got some work to do with Larry Crane over at Jackpot and a couple other things to do while we're in town. But yes, if I get them over there, and then the two places I would get them would be Music Millennium and Jackpot Records.
Right. I mean, not that I don't give them enough money as it is, but, I figured it's good to ask and find out for others,
Absolutely.
too. Okay. We've got like 2 minutes left. Do you want to play us off with the song?
Yeah, we can play you a short one. What's the Daytime Moon is probably the shortest on the record.
Okay. And before you do, can I get just a station drop? This is the Kearns family listening to KPSU.
Mm-hmm.
That's you.
Oh.
1, 2, 3.
This is the Kearns family, and you're listening to KPSU, Portland.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is a song about, or is at least inspired by an unfortunate incident for one of our local bands down in the high desert. The band's name is Daytime Moon. They were a 3-piece at one point. They lost a member. They became a 2-piece. We're fans of them. Then we went out to see them one time, and there were 4 of them, and they've been getting more and more popular, and I just love seeing that happen. So this song does not tell a story the way our other songs do in that way. It's more like numerology and mysticism. This is Daytime Moon. They say when lightning strikes the same place twice is a happening so rare. Add to that pair, there were 3 horsemen riding under the daytime moon. A mirage, or were there 2? All I've left to say to you is all inside. Nothing there you cannot see with your own eyes. There were 3 horsemen riding under the daytime moon. A mirage, or were there 2? From dusk until the dawn, while spirits carry on, we sing our songs for you. Where at one time there were 3, there now are 4. Every time you glance away and back, there's more. There were so many there riding under the daytime moon, always singing the same tune. From dusk until the dawn, our spirits carry on. Our hearts will long for you forever. You're gone. We sing our songs for you.
And thank you so much for tuning in to KPSU, Portland's college radio station. This has been Live Fridays, and this is DJ Rochelle. Stay tuned. We've got more music